And this weekend, I want to talk about one of the most important skills you never learned. It is the skill of resolving conflict.
Now, what we're going to talk about today is resolving conflict.
Conflict at work, conflict with your spouse.
How many careers are derailed because someone doesn't know how to approach conflict the right way? How many couples are losing at marriage?
And when you went to school, grade school, junior high, high school, you didn't get a single class on conflict management, although it is one of the #1 skills you got to learn in life.
All the things that we learned in school, we never took a class in conflict resolution. Like, we were never taught how to be good at resolving conflict.
As much as possible, as far as it depends on you, live in peace with everyone. Now, I am so glad that God just didn't leave out the first 2 parts and just say, live in peace with everyone.
It says, if it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. What I love that it doesn't say live peaceably with all men. It doesn't say that. It says, St. Paul is honest, and St. Paul says, you know what? If it's possible.
What is God saying here? God says, I recognize that some people you can't live at peace with. And no matter how you try to appease, please, cajole, support, whatever, they are just at a well that cannot be filled up.
It is not possible to live peaceably with all men. There are some people who you will try and try and try and try, and you know what? Never. It wasn't because I didn't try and try and try. As much as depends on me, I tried. And some people will never accept. And like I said, some people, they just won't.
And even God recognizes that some people you just can't live at peace with.
Because again, even Jesus himself did everything that he could, and some people refused to accept. Some people ended with conflict with Jesus.
As much as possible. Sometimes it's not possible. As far as it depends on you. You can't control somebody else's reaction. So he says, all you can control is you. As far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone.
The goal isn't the other person. The goal is, as much as depends on me, I will do my best. And if there's conflict between you and I, it will not be because I didn't do my absolute best to resolve it.
So one of the most important skills you have to learn is how to resolve conflict. It is essential to your happiness. If you don't know how to resolve conflict, you walk around carrying conflict most of your life, which leaves you miserable. You can be wealthy, you can be attractive, you can be successful, you can be talented, and if your relationships suck, you're a mess.
That your success in life is largely determined by your ability to resolve conflict. And I say that because life is about relationships, right? When you're good at relationships, you're good at life. And if you're good at everything in life except relationships, you won't say your life is successful. And the opposite, if you may not have had the car or the house or the career.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I want to look at the cure more than the cause. But
I'm going to spend the majority of the time on this, the strategy, and not on the steps.
The damage that unresolved conflict does is 3 things. Number 1, it blocks my fellowship with God.
So what I'm going to say this. I believe that unresolved conflict is the greatest hindrance to my relationship with God.
So every time I get in conflict with somebody, guess what? My fellowship with God is blocked.
Unresolved conflict is the greatest hindrance to our relationship with God.
Jesus said it like this, Matthew 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, not peace lovers. A lot of people love peace. There are a lot of peace lovers in the world. Very few peacemakers. You be not a peace lover. You be a peacemaker.
The scriptures command us to be peacemakers. And I've discovered that many of us are peace wisher-forers. Peace lovers.
He says in Matthew 5:23, if you're standing before the altar in the temple. Now what's he talking about here? You're at worship. It's what you're doing right now. You remember that somebody has something against you. You leave your offering. Leave your offering there beside the altar. Go at once. Circle at once. Go at once and first be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your gift to God. Some of you shouldn't be here.
Matthew 5:23. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. He says it very clearly. He says, if you're coming to worship me, but you got drama with your brother, man, you need to go solve it with your brother first. So by this, sorry to say this, there's some people who are sitting here today that shouldn't be here.
Okay, we know you're leaving early because there's something you need to go get right. But notice it says, leave your gift. Okay, so you don't get out of the offering part, okay, all right? It says, leave your gift, go get it right, then come back and worship.
And on behalf of all the fundraising committees in every church everywhere, I'd like to point out that when this verse says that you should leave church, what does it say you should do with the gift that you're coming to offer? Leave your gift and then go offer, okay? Every fundraising committee in finance is like, yeah, make sure that.
Number one, take the initiative. That's the starting point. You take the initiative. You don't wait for them to come to you, you go to them.
Take the initiative in resolving it.
You be the peacemaker. Now, he's saying, don't ignore the conflict, don't deny the conflict, don't push the conflict under the carpet, don't pretend that the conflict doesn't exist.
But what I'm saying is stop turning a blind eye. Stop pretending it doesn't bother you. Stop pretending it doesn't exist. Or you're the one who pretends there's no problem, or you're the one who just kind of go about your day-to-day life.
People, have you ever heard the expression, time heals everything? That's a bunch of baloney.
And that's some people would say. But doesn't time heal all wounds? Doesn't time heal all wounds? Does time heal all wounds?
Time heals nothing. I mean, if time healed everything, you could go to the doctor and just sit in the waiting room and you'd be healed. Okay? You wouldn't even need to see the doctor. You just, time heals everything. Actually, time makes things worse. When you got an open wound, you don't deal with it, it festers.
Doctors, let's say I'm bleeding from my pancreas right here. Okay? My pancreas just exploded, blood is gushing everywhere. Oh, don't worry, time heals all wounds.
Now, friends, when I first married Kay, I was terrible at this. Terrible at this.
I'll tell you all a true story. And I say this, my wife gave me permission to tell this story about the worst period in our marriage ever.
And his name is the Artful Dodger. That was me. That position was based on me. I knew how. Kay would come at me with an issue and I'd dodge it. And I was pretty artful at it. And she'd get another issue and I'd dodge it. I was not gonna get drawn into conflict. And she would do everything she could to get me to work on situations and I would just dodge it. But conflict is never resolved accidentally.
And I just dodged. And she would want to talk, and is everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine, and we need to do this, and we need, we need to, and I would just dodge, you know.
Now, the fear of conflict is as old as Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve messed up.
Genesis chapter 3, the very first conflict that happened on this earth between man and God.
And so they go out and they're hiding after they have sinned, and they don't want to get near God because they don't want to face the reality of the conflict.
After Adam and Eve sinned, what happened? Look in Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. It says, then the eyes of both of them, Adam and Eve, were opened. They knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings.
The second thing you're going to have to deal with is you're going to have to deal with the timing. Timing is everything in conflict resolution.
Figure out when a good time would be, schedule a meeting, take the initiative.
The best time is when you're both at your best.
Maybe a good time would be in the morning when everyone is fresh.
By the way, never drop a bomb in bed.
When tired, when hungry, not good times.
Number two is confess my part of the conflict.
Second, when you have that meeting, confess my part.
They may be 99.9% wrong, and you're only 0.1% wrong, then you confess your 1% first. That's called humility.
No such thing. It could be 90-10. It could be 95-5. Then you know what I would say? Go confess the 5.
Let me tell you a sentence that'll break any relational logjam. I'm sorry, I was only thinking of myself.
I'm sorry disarms your opponent.
How do you break a relational logjam? You may be in one right now. It's always the same way, humility.
Humility, in case you didn't know, is the strongest power on this planet. Nothing can defeat humility.
Pastor Tom's going to come and teach the next 2 steps.
So here's the third thing you do when you're resolving a conflict. You listen for the hurt. You listen for the hurt.
Number 3, what we are going to do is we're going to listen for hurt.
We tend to hide our hurt behind logic. You've seen this happen. We get hurt in a conversation, but instead of saying, I'm hurt, we say, let me tell you 7 reasons why you're wrong. In fact, here's my little chart that shows you exactly why you're wrong with arrows and pictures and everything. We file a legal brief instead of just saying the 2 words, I'm hurt.
That way I express hurt feelings is through logic. It's not that you hurt my feelings, but what I will say is you were wrong for these 7 reasons, and here's a chart and explanation of why you were wrong. Like I'll go into overly logical mode when I feel like someone has done something wrong.
Well, a great verse is James 1:19. I love this verse. In fact, it's worth reading together. Would you read it with me? Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry.
If you get James 1:19, let's read it all together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath.
In fact, just this one verse, James 1:19, you put this into place in your life and relationship, it can save you thousands and thousands in counseling.
James 1:19, showed you all this verse last week. I think this verse right here, this will save you thousands of dollars in marriage counseling right here. This will save you thousands of dollars in relationship counseling.
Now, the 5th step is very important. Tell the truth tactfully. In this peace conference that you're having with this person that you're in conflict with, you tell the truth tactfully.
Speak truth and love. Speak truthfully and lovingly.
You never use truth as a club. It may be true, but you don't use truth to beat people over the head.
Truth without love is a club that you beat someone over the head with.
You are never persuasive when you are abrasive.
But a nice way of saying it, you are never persuasive when you speak abrasive.
And what I'm saying is, this skill is learning to attack the problem rather than attacking the person.
You're never persuasive when you speak abrasive. Because a true peacemaker does not focus on just issues. A true peacemaker focuses on relationships.
Focus on reconciliation, not resolution. Focus on reconciliation, not resolution. There's a big difference here. Reconciliation means reestablishing the relationship. Resolution means resolving every issue. We no longer have any disagreement. We no longer have any problems. That second one isn't going to happen.
People who realize that the goal isn't everybody to agree with me. Again, the goal isn't the issue. The goal isn't no conflict. The goal isn't everyone to see the world the way I see it. The goal is not the issue. The goal is the relationship, the reconciliation of the relationship.
If you learn to disagree without being disagreeable, that's called wisdom.
That we can disagree without being disagreeable.
If you learn to walk hand in hand without having to see eye to eye, that's called wisdom.
Or as we always say here, that we can walk hand in hand even though we don't necessarily see eye to eye.